I have never in my life spoken at a political rally. I've covered a million of them for over 30 years, and I've never spoken at one, never thought I would. And I'm so thrilled. I'm honored to be here. I really am. And I am. It's totally without shame and entirely with gratitude I'm standing here. And I can't believe I just spoke after Bobby Kennedy. So cool. So here we are at an enormous Donald Trump rally less than 2 weeks before the presidential election. I'm following Bobby Kennedy Jr., and somewhere in a half-empty Union Hall in a cold state is Dick Cheney's creepy little daughter campaigning with Kamala Harris. And I have to say, that is a thrilling trade as far as I'm concerned. I never thought I would live to see the day when Bobby Kennedy would be one of the most beloved figures in a room full of Republicans, and Mr. Burns from The Simpsons and his criminal daughter would be Democrats. It's just absolutely wonderful. So here's my perspective. I think Donald Trump's going to win, which is amazing. And that's why I'm here. I'm not here because he's going to win. I'm here because I'm so thrilled by what I've watched over the past 9 years. This is the end of a redemption arc. I've really never seen anybody treated like Donald Trump was treated, ever. Anybody, ever. Attack him. I watched this all up close. Defame him. Indict him. Arrest him. Let him get shot in the face. And he's going to win anyway. Oh! It is a triumph. It's a triumph. The phrase triumph of the human spirit has been turned into a cliche by the people who write movie posters, but it doesn't make it any less real. Donald Trump's victory will be a triumph of the human spirit. It will be a triumph of Americans over the machine that seeks to oppress them. It'll be a middle finger wagging in the face of the worst people in the English-speaking world who are leaders. It will be a moral victory the size of which I never thought I would live to see. And it's essential. It is so important that that happens for a couple of reasons, and here's what they are. The first is to dissolve for all time, for the world to see, the primary lie about Donald Trump, which is that only freaks and misfits like him. That's a lie. And they've been telling that lie since the second he came down that escalator 9 years ago. If you like that, there's something wrong with you. You're the only person you know who likes that. You're a freak. Be ashamed. Do not talk about Donald Trump in public. Don't wear his dangerous little red hat. And if you're in the media, how dare you speak to him? And that was a lie from day one. It was a big lie. It was January 6th is an insurrection. What? It's the kind of lie that they tell relentlessly. They punish anyone who contradicts the lie because it is so preposterous it can only be upheld through force. And in the last 3 months, we have seen that lie dissolve like the Wicked Witch of the West under a bucket of water. Look around. Is this a room full of freaks and misfits? No, it's not. This is a room full of people who love their country enough to obey its laws, who sincerely believe in its founding precepts, who pay their taxes, who go to work. The ever-shrinking percentage of Americans who work a 40-hour week, who expect nothing from the system, and who have given their lives for the system, who are born in this country and plan to die here. And they're the most mistreated group in this nation, and they're also the biggest group in this nation. They're not some weird subculture of MAGA. They're America itself. And the only people who are denying that are the freaks and the misfits, who it turns out are themselves a tiny, bizarre minority, a cult, who have controlled the rest of us through fear and aggression. And that has ended. And it has ended thanks to the heroic stand that a couple of individuals have taken, first among them Elon Musk. Elon Musk, who single-handedly saved the First Amendment to the Constitution, which, let me remind you, is not just a feature of America, it's the basis of America. It's the First Amendment for a reason. It's what separates the free from the enslaved. Slaves are not allowed to say what they think. Free men have God-given right to do so and will. And this is the only country on earth in which that is guaranteed. And without Elon Musk, it wouldn't be, because he stands alone as the owner of a media platform that is still open. There's only one, and it's X. It's foreign-born Elon Musk. And then for him to come out, and by the way, just for the record, I've taken not $1 from Elon Musk, okay? It's not a paid advertisement, it's just an observation. And this is heartfelt gratitude. And when you see the richest man on planet Earth stand up there in a t-shirt, start jumping around on stage, he's also one of the biggest federal contractors. People say, oh, he's got FU money. No, it's just the opposite. There is no such thing as FU money. The more money you have, the more vested you are. There's only FU poverty, actually, is the truth. And Elon Musk has more to lose than any living American by taking the position that he did, and he did it anyway. And so what's the message? If the person who's created the most, not just piles of cash, he's not Larry Fink, he's not worshiping money like our finance class, he's building things. And if that guy is for Donald Trump, and not only not ashamed of it, he's jumping around in a t-shirt, I can see his belly button, he's so excited, then maybe I'm not alone. Maybe I'm not the freak. Maybe what you're really watching is the tyranny of MSNBC, a channel with virtually no viewers, a channel on which almost every single person has a personal life so grotesquely weird, if you knew the details, you'd call for their arrest. That's just true. And those people, the unhappiest people in this nation, are defining the terms of the conversation? I don't think so. How'd they get away with that? The same way they got away with calling January 6th an insurrection for 3 years, by repeating it and by attacking anyone who disagreed. But it's an illusion. It's the Wizard of Oz. And once you pull back the curtain, the only thing back there is Joe Scarborough. You're like, wait a second. Why am I taking orders from this guy? He's a freak. I'm a normal person. And that realization has settled on this country, on the whole country, and you feel it. People are not afraid anymore, at all. I've got a bunch of kids. I text them, I'm going to go speak at a Trump rally. My kids, you go. I said, do you have a lot of friends who are voting for Carmela or whatever her name is? No, of course not. That's embarrassing. It has flipped. The story the country tells itself about reality has flipped. None of the normal people are supporting the Democratic machine. Tim Walz is supporting the Democratic machine. A man you would never allow to babysit your own children. That's the archetype. It's the party of weirdos, of envy, of hate, of resentment, of bitterness, of weakness, of a total lack of creativity. It's a party of conformity. It's a party of the machine, where it doesn't matter who the candidate is because individuals are immaterial. All that matters is the collective. That's the Soviet model. And opposing them is the rest of the country, slowly waking up to the fact that these people have no moral authority whatsoever. They have no legitimacy in a democracy where the government must rule by the consent of the governed. They have no consent. And the way that they've treated this country over the past 4 years is the most shocking thing I've ever seen in 55 years. To allow millions of people, mostly young men with no skills and no English, into our country illegally, and then fly them around at our expense and give them phones and put them on welfare programs that no American citizen can get. It is the most insulting. Yeah, boo. But it's worse than boo. That's the biggest crime in the history of the United States of America. And it takes incredible stones, incredible gall for the people who did that to stand up there on a stage and give you a lecture about how you're immoral. It's too much. And so that's the second important thing about this election, okay? The first is every person in this room needs to understand you are not in a despised minority. You are in an incredibly gentle and tolerant majority who put up with this crap for way too long. As they insulted not only you, but the memory of your ancestors who died for this country. They tore down statues to their memory. People have never built anything in their lives. They went out of their way to humiliate you and spit on you and the graves of your ancestors. And that's not an exaggeration. They did that. And this country is so nice. It's so polite. It's so thoughtful and empathetic and sweet. It's the kind of country that loves dogs and gives directions to strangers that we put up with it for 4 years. But we can't anymore. We just can't. And we can't for two reasons. The first reason that we can't put up with it for one more minute is because it's just not justice. It's not. It's not justice. It's unfair. You cannot reward the most parasitic, useless, violent, nasty, aggressive people in your country. You can't make them the richest. You just can't. It's just wrong. In a fair, decent country, the people who work the hardest, who have the highest level of talent, who are the most creative, who are the most decent to their neighbors, who give the biggest tips to waitresses, those people should be successful. Those people should be revered. It shouldn't be Larry Fink. Are you joking? Kamala Harris shouldn't have a job. She has no skills. How did we wind up with a system where Kamala Harris, you couldn't change the tire on your truck, much less drive it? How did she wind up at the top of the pyramid? And then once she's there, she lectures you like you did something. It's too much. You can't allow that. It's an offense against the truth, against reality, and against justice itself. And the second reason you can't allow it is very familiar to anyone who has children, which is if you allow it, you will encourage more of it. If you allow people to get away with things that are completely over the top and outrageous, if you allow your 2-year-old to smear the contents of his diapers on the wall of your living room, and you do nothing about it, if you allow your 14-year-old to light a joint at the breakfast table, if you allow your hormone-addled 15-year-old daughter to slam the door of her bedroom and give you the finger, you're going to get more of it. And those kids are going to wind up in rehab. It's not good for you, and it's not good for them. No. There has to be a point at which dad comes home. Yeah, that's right. Dad comes home. And he's pissed. Dad is pissed. He's not vengeful. He loves his children. Disobedient as they may be, he loves them. Because they're his children, they live in his house. But he's very disappointed in their behavior. And he's going to have to let them know. He's going to have to get to your room right now and think about what you did. And when dad gets home, you know what he says? You've been a bad girl. You've been a bad little girl, and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now. And no, it's not going to hurt me more than it hurts you. No, it's not. I'm not going to lie. This is going to hurt you a lot more than it hurts me. And you earned this. You're getting a vigorous spanking because you've been a bad girl. And it has to be this way. It has to be this way because it's true. And you're only going to get better when you take responsibility for what you did. That's not said in the spirit of hate. It's not said in the spirit of vengeance or bigotry. Far from it. It's said in the spirit of justice, which is the purest and best thing there is. And without it, things fall apart. The Democratic Party machine, and notice I'm not beating up on Kamala Harris, who's just a hapless victim who happened to be there in the right color, so they grabbed her. Tim Walz, they needed some, whatever Tim Walz is. They needed a weak man, because it is the party of weak men and unhappy women. One of which leads to the other, by the way. Where you find weak men, you will inevitably find unhappy women. Sorry. And they make them on purpose. They weaken the men to drive the women insane, to have the most consistent voting bloc ever in the history of politics. Unhappy women, made unhappy by weak men. But it could be anybody. It could be anybody. Kamala Harris is just a stand-in. She's a cardboard cutout. She has a soul. God created her. I'm not attacking her humanity. But there's nothing there. It doesn't matter. If it wasn't Kamala Harris, it would be, I don't know, Pete Buttigieg or whatever. Who are these people? It doesn't matter. They're the cutouts. They work for the machine. They're totally dispensable. They're replaceable. And they need to have limits set for them. And so on Election Day, and I sincerely believe Donald Trump's going to win. And if I thought he was going to lose, I'd be here anyway, by the way. I would. In fact, I would have been here earlier if I thought he was going to lose, just to make the point. I mean it. I don't like people who jump on the winning train, okay? I think Donald Trump's going to win. And not only do I think Donald Trump's going to win, I think that the vibe shift has been so profound. I mean, the numbers suggest he's going to win. He's ahead in all 7 battleground states. But much more important, and the early voting seems to be favoring him. But more important even than the conventional political markers is what you smell around you. And it's the return of freedom. It's the return of the country you grew up in, where you could say things like, I like that guy, and maybe you like the other person. That's fine. That was not allowed for 9 years. And it's allowed now. And I think, and it's because of what they did, by the way, they deserve this. But I think the vibe is so strong right now, I don't think we can get away with pretending something else happened. I don't think we can have another 2020 at this point. I just don't. I don't. Where they hid relevant facts from you, they prevented you from knowing about their candidate and then claimed victory. Or 37 billion votes or whatever they claim he got. That's rigging the election. Period. If the government prevents people from knowing critical information about a candidate, they have rigged the election. And they did that. Period. Oh, you're not allowed to say that. I'm not allowed to say it because it's 100% true. And every person who hears it knows it's true, including the people who did it. I don't think they can do that again. I don't. And I don't think, no matter what they pull 2 weeks from now, 13 days from now, I don't think they can get away with standing up and being like, on MSNBC, no, actually, Kamala Harris is historically popular, it turns out. A woman who's never had a job, who can't even pronounce her own first name consistently. That's how false she is. Some woman who grew up in Montreal, Canada, is lecturing me about America. Okay. I don't think they can do that, because I don't think people are going to sit back and take it. I don't. It's enough. It's enough. That's the point at which you say, no, I'm sorry. I put up with this crap for a long time. I indulge your little fantasy. It's like when your teenage girl becomes a vegetarian, you're like, okay, that's, okay, it's fine. No, I totally understand. You're like, it's a phase. But if that phase goes on for 9 years and includes destroying your major cities and allowing your country to be invaded by millions of foreigners whose identities you don't know, and whose purpose in this country is unclear, by the way, why shouldn't we feel threatened by that? If they go out of their way to crush families, to make it impossible for your kids to buy a house, getting involved in the sex lives of your children, which they are, if they do all of that, they need to lose. And at the end of all of it, when they tell you they've won, no. You can look them straight in the face and say, I'm sorry, Dad's home, and he's pissed.